إن الحمد لله وحده الصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وبعد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His choicest and unlimited mercy and blessing be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. It's a great favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He enabled us to have the session on ASMA'UL HUSNA in this blessed month of Ramadan. As the days of Ramadan are passing by, and one of the best usage of our time is to get engaged into the meanings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ASMA'UL HUSNA. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with all His attributes and His beautiful names, showers His mercy upon us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower His choicest mercy upon us in this blessed month of Ramadan. In this session we are going to discuss about the meanings of Al-Bar. Al-Bar is another attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As far as Al-Bar is concerned, it has been mentioned at many places in the Quran. Al-Bar, the source of all goodness. Al-Bar refers to source of all goodness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Bar in its definitive meaning. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Bar, that whatever goodness we find on the surface of the planet, whatever goodness is there, it is all because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The source of all goodness on the planet, it is all through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He is Al-Bar. And as far as Al-Bar is concerned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showers His apparent and hidden blessings upon us. All His creation totally depends on Him at all times and cannot do without His absolute kindness. He multiplies the reward of the righteous among the Muslims and forgive wrongdoers among them, and His promise is all true. As far as occurrence of Al-Bar in the Quran is concerned, Al-Bar has been mentioned in the Quran once. إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْبَرُّ رَءُوفُ الرَّحِيمُ. Truly He is a source of goodness, the compassionate. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created good and bad. We believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He is the creator of good and bad. Why He created good and bad? Just to test us. The dominant opinion of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that Allah is Khaliqul Khairi wa Shar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of good and creator of bad. On the other hand, Mu'tazila, their opinion is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is only creator of good, not the creator of the bad. It is the human being who is the creator of bad himself. However, we believe that based on the Quranic verses and the prophetic traditions sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, that Allah is the creator of everything. Khaliqu kulla shay, as Allah says in the Quran. Khaliqu kulla shay, He is the creator of each and everything, whether it is good or it is bad. And one of the article of faith is وَالْقَدْرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, that we have the faith and belief in taqdeer, in the predestination, that good and bad comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the question arises, it is quite understandable that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the good because He is good, He is all good, He is source of good. Why He created the bad? If we see the basic purpose of our life, why Allah created us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Kahf, also in Surah Al-Mulk, الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who created the death and the life. الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who created death and life لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, so that He may test you which one of you is best in deeds. So it means life is meant for test. Now imagine if there is only good, then what kind of test lies there? We know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the angels, and the angelic nature is that they are all inclined towards doing all the good. Even if they want to do any bad, they cannot, because their programming has been set in such a way that they will not develop any sort of sentiment for the bad. As the element of bad has been, or inclination towards the bad, the element of inclination towards the bad has been removed from them. So they all the time do all the good deeds. So there is no test for them. There is no test, there is no reckoning, there is no accountability as far as the angels are concerned. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set them in one single uniform motion. And that motion is, that the direction is towards doing good. As Allah says in the Quran, يَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ, they do what they are commanded. لَا يَعْصُونَ اللَّهِ, they cannot disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the element of disobedience has been taken away from them. So there is no test for them. As far as human beings are concerned, you and me are concerned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us with such a beautiful blend of human nature that we have inclination towards the good, we have inclination towards the bad. And this inclination towards both the things is a means of test. And at the same breath, it is not only that we have this kind of temptation or inclination towards good and bad, at the same time, Allah has given us a complete will, a complete choice, to make effective use of our choice. Potentially using our choice, whether doing good or doing bad. The entire choice lies with us. Here is our test, that how do we actualize our potential? How do we use our choice, whether either we use in good or in bad? But in both the cases we are accountable. In both the cases we are responsible for all our actions. So we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Khaliqul Khayri wa Shar. Allah is the creator of good and bad. And we are, the human beings are, Kasibul Khayri wa Shar, the earners of good and bad. Whether to earn good or to earn bad, it is our sole discretion. The power lies with us. And it is on the basis of this choice we are accountable before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The whole scheme of creation gets its meaning only when we realize that we are accountable before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So al-bar is a source of all good, but at the same time opposite to bir. Because the root word of al-bar is al-birru, means all good, righteousness. And there's also a verse in the Quran which is known as Ayatul Bir, the verse of righteousness. We shall deal with it inshallah after a short while. What are the different elements of this bir, this righteousness? So in the first instance, we are trying to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the source of all good. He is the creator of all good. But at the same time, as this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set this world in such a way that it is known through its opposites. One of the Arab saying is, Al-Ashya tu'arafu bi-al-dadiha. The things are known through its binary oppositions. We say day. How we are able to say day? When there is night. We say big. On what basis we say big? When there is small. We say white. On what basis we say this color is white? Because there is black. So this dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this world has made in such a way, it is known through its binary opposites. So if there is good, there is also bad. If there is truth, there is falsehood. If there is vice, there is virtue. If there is wickedness, there is righteousness. So this, Allah has created this thing. If there is ikhlas, there is riya. If there is selfishness, there is selflessness. So al-ashya'u tu'arafu bi-addadiha. The things are known through its binary opposites. Likewise, when we say al-bir, how do we say al-bir? when there is a su. When we say righteousness, we are able to say righteousness when there is evil. We say justice. On what basis we say justice? Because there is oppression, there is injustice. So all these things makes us all these themes together, these binary opposite things makes us to identify specific ideas and concepts. Likewise, when we say righteousness, so it means that there is evil also. There's a huge debate whether righteousness or evil, is it relative or absolute? According to our conception, it's not relative, it is absolute. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defines to be evil, that is all evil. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defines to be good, that's all good. On the contrary, here again, Mu'tazila is one of the deviant sects within the Islam. They again contradict with us. They say that to defining a thing whether this is righteous or it is evil, it's the domain of the aql, is the domain of the reason. So whatever reason says it is good, that qualifies to be good. Whatever reason defines to be evil, that qualifies to be evil. But we say the sole discretion of defining what is good and what's bad, what's righteousness, what's evil, is not the aql. It's because the domain of aql, the level of aql, the understanding of aql or the reason is too limited. It cannot encompass all the things. It's sole discretion of the Sharia. Whatever Sharia defines to be righteous, it is righteous. Whatever Sharia defines to be evil, it is evil. Our aql is limited, while a Sharia which has been revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all encompassing. So our conception of good and bad is absolute, not the relative. On the other hand, the modern Western thought, according to it, all the good and bad is all relative. It varies from society to society. However, a particular society defines a particular action. If it defines a particular action to be good, it is good. But not necessarily it is good to all. It may be good to some particular people but bad to other people. So it means the concept of good and bad, it is all relative. One simple example. As far as the theory of knowledge or epistemology is concerned, the scholars have discussed whether a man is born with the knowledge or without knowledge. Just a passing remark. John Locke says that man is born with a blank slate. Means when a person is born in a given society, he doesn't know anything. What is good and what's bad, what's right and what's wrong. Rather, he is born with a blank slate. It is a society which inscribes on this slate what is good and what's bad. So he begins to believe in the respective ideas of that society. On the other hand, René Descartes says the man is born with the innate ideas. So as far as the concept of Locke is concerned, it was further developed by Sigmund Freud. Who also believes that man is born with a blank slate. Means he doesn't have any preconceived idea of good and bad. It's a society which makes him to feel what's good and what's bad. So concept of good and bad is relative, not the absolute. Here we need to understand, say, one example, how they put it. In the Hindu society, in which Hindu ideals are being practiced, Hindu practices are being observed, what is the highest form of the virtue? What is the highest form of righteousness there? What is the thing they consider to be of higher value? That is worship of idols. Idol worship is considered to be the highest form of virtue, highest form of righteousness. Or in our terminology, in Muslim terminology, we call it shirk. Because they associate partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They make the ideals as associates and partners to Allah. So this action, this idol worship, is glorified, is elevated in the given Hindu society. So the higher form of righteousness is shirk. Now you move towards the Muslim society. What is the worst form of all evil? What is the worst form of all sins? Again, the same shirk. So in one society, a particular action is considered to be the root of all virtue, is all virtuous, is all righteous, is the epitome of righteousness. But the same action in another society, in a Muslim society, is considered to be, it is the root of all evil, that is shirk. So this is how they put forward the concept that the ideas of good and bad varies from society to society. Now we need to understand one important thing, that Islam says that that good and bad is all absolute. It is just at the surface level. Apparently it seems to be, yes, it is the same case. When a child is born in a Muslim society, so when he is born in a Muslim society, by the very nature, the Muslim ideals are being inculcated into him. So from the very childhood, he learns the importance of Tawheed, oneness of Allah. From the very childhood, he believes that the highest form of righteousness is Tawheed, monotheism, belief in one Allah. He also believes that the worst form of all evil is shirk, because he gets all these ideas from the society. On the other hand, in a Hindu society, what we find that the Hindu boy is born, a baby is born in a Hindu society, and from the very onset, from the very childhood, it believes that the concept of shirk is the highest form of virtue. And there is no concept of Tawheed, there is no concept of shirk in them, because the very theology is based on a shirk, associating partner to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these concepts of good and bad, it's not the discretion of the human mind to decide. According to them, it is a social phenomena. It's a society which decides what is good and what's bad. But Islam says that it is the sole discretion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to decide what's righteousness and what's evil, what's good or what's bad. It's not our domain, it's not our discretion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us with a reason. And when we actualize the potential of reason, we come to know that the worst form of evil, it is shirk. Just setting aside the concept of the society, just let us be focused upon the concept of shirk. What Islam teaches us is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of all things. He is the creator of each and everything. He created everything, so He alone deserves to be worshipped. Just a simple example I may put forward. A person, all through his life, he makes all his efforts. He spends upon a particular business, then he uses all his energy. He leaves no stone unturned in order to make his business successful. And after some point of time, his business is run and he emerges as a successful businessman. So out of his efforts, out of his spending a lot of energy, and out of his all skillful activities, he was able to emerge as a successful businessman. And after a few decades, he earned a lot of things. He is able to accumulate a lot of wealth. So it is after when a person spent all his energy, when a person spent all his potential. So after spending all his potential and energy, he was able to accumulate a lot of wealth. So after a few decades, he emerged as a successful businessman. However, there is no any other person who assisted him, or there is no any other person who was partner to him. It was his all actions. Wholly and solely he devoted himself in order to be emerged as a successful businessman. So is there any businessman all through the world of such nature that after he accumulated millions and billions, he made huge, considerable and significant assets? After making assets, after decades long efforts, decades long in endeavors, another person comes who is not known to him, and he says to him that you accept me as your partner. I'm your partner in all your business assets. I'm your partner to all your business initiatives. And there's no any investment on his part. He did not spend any energy. He did not spend any time. And there's not a single penny on his part to be invested. So is there any businessman all through the world to accept him as a partner? Definitely no. So this is how Islam teaches us. Is a rational basis of Tawheed. It's not that it is society which defines what's good and what's bad. The concept of shirk, it's being evil, is known to the human reason and human nature. The only thing is that we need to just think on it. We need to contemplate on it. After contemplation, we come to know that it's the worst form of all ideas. That for 3 decades, 4 decades, you spend your energy, your time, your money, each and everything. And then, after you emerge as a successful businessman, then a third person comes, you even don't know him, and he tells you that you must accept him as his partner. When we won't accept this partnership at this worldly level, the creator of all universe, the creator of each and everything, how come he will accept the partners? So this is the difference between the Mu'tazila and the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So we believe that the concept of good and bad is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a Sharia which will decide what's good and what's bad. So for them is the aqal, is the human reason, which is entitled to decide what's good and what's bad. So al-bir, as we are discussing the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-bir, the source of all goodness, the source of all righteousness, which is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So al-bir is the one who created all good. And al-bir also, as I said, opposite to bir is asu. Our opposite to righteousness is evil. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of good and bad. Why He created good and bad? Just to test us. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. So that He may put you on test and see which one of you is best in deeds. So the concept of good is there, concept of bad is there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed the ideas of good and bad in our human nature. In all the human society, we can see that there's not a single human community which glorifies the concept of murder, which glorifies the concept of taking away the things of others, stealing, murder, gambling, each and every human society, except a handful of people whose consciousness and whose conscience both have been obliterated by their vain desires. The majority of the people, they have this idea of good and bad. And so this idea of, here again, we should realize that if man is only a lump of clay, there is no creator behind him, then who put all these ideas into the human nature? Why we have the inclination towards the good all the time? Why the evil seems to be obnoxious and abhorrent to us? Why we always love the people who seek the justice? Why we always love the people who do good, who do righteous things? Why is there natural hatred towards those who are oppressors, or who are doing bad, or who are doing wrongdoings, who commit the wrong things? So why is there natural repulsiveness towards them? So we are not just lump of clay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed us in our best form. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ التَّقْوِيمِ. We realize from there the importance of this verse. How Allah beautifully has created and carved out us, and carved out all these attributes and characteristics in us. So we have temptation, we have an inclination towards the good, we have a repulsive approach towards the bad. So this inclination towards good, repulsiveness towards the bad, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who put in our human nature. Otherwise, we are the object like other objects of this universe. But what sets us apart, there's this willful choice, this choicefulness, this willfulness which is in us. And using this choice or this will in observing the good or committing the wrong. And that's the basis of our accountability. There's a basis of our reckoning on the day of judgment. So whoever is deprived of this willfulness or choicefulness, they are absolved of that reckoning and accountability. Like the insane people, they are excluded. Like the children, they are excluded. Because they are not able to use, they are not able to actualize their potential, this willful potential. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Bar. And as Al-Bar, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showers His apparent and hidden blessings upon His slaves. All the good which we find on the planet, it is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All His creation totally depends on Him at all times. It's not that we depend on Him at certain occasions. At every single breath we depend on Him. And we cannot do anything without His absolute kindness. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His magnanimity, out of His benevolence, He multiplies the rewards of righteous among the Muslims. And it is out of His kindness and compassion that He forgives the wrongdoers among the Muslims, among them. And His promise is all true. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is root of all good, root of all righteousness. So by the source of this verse, but by the source of this attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask Him to grant us a tawfiq to do all sorts of righteous things. And at the same breath we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us a tawfiq to stay away from all sorts of evil things which He has forbidden for us. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. So now we will try to see the linguistic meaning of Al-Bir. The word Al-Bir comes from the root word Ba-Ra-Ra. So there is Ra Mushaddad, which points to 5 meanings. There are 5 main meanings. The first main meaning is to be devoted and gentle. So Al-Bar is the devoted and gentle, and its plural becomes Al-Abrar. And one of the levels of the believers mentioned in the Quran is Al-Abrar, those who are righteous people, who are devoted and gentle in their actions, and they are all sincere in their actions. That's what Allah says, Al-Abrar. Innal abrara lafi na'im. Indeed, the righteous people shall be among the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Jannah. So one meaning of Al-Bir is to be devoted and to be gentle. And second meaning of Al-Bir is to be just, proper and honest. So Bir also refers to honesty. It also refers to justice. So we can say Rajulun Bar. Rajulun Bar means the just person who loves the justice, who hates the injustice in all its forms, and who always behaves as an honest person. Rajulun Barun. So this is second meaning of Al-Bar. Al-Bir, which is a root word of Al-Bar. And the third meaning is to have regard for someone's circumstances. That is also Al-Birru. And the fourth meaning is to bestow beautiful gifts and to be ample. That whatever gifts we have on the planet, all the resources, all the natural resources we have, is a gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the humanity. And there are life supporting systems without which we cannot live, without which we cease to exist. We have the oxygen, we have the water, we have the sunlight. So these are all, we can say, the important elements for our survival. If any of them is non-existent, our survival will become impossible. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Bar, who filled up this planet with the abundance of all those things which we need for our survival. That is Al-Bar. And the fifth meaning is to do good and be righteous. As far as Al-Bir is concerned, the root word, the root appears 32 times in the Quran in 3 derived forms. And like it is Al-Bir, the righteousness, Al-Bari, the righteous, Al-Bar. Bar is also referred to the land. And there is Al-Bahru wal-Barru. Bahar means the water body, and Bar means Bar also means the dried land. So these are the linguistic meanings of al-bar. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun alal mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.